So I did a poll before I left to work today, and I was basically like, "Hey guys, I'm trying to think of a fan fiction idea. Can you guys think of one?" I put a poll up for for a video, and this one pretty much won by a landslide. I was actually like, "Yeah, I got a feeling this one." It wasn't like when I did the poll, it was like, "All right, that one's the lark," and shock, it's gonna win. No, this was one I was like, "Yeah, this is the first idea," and I threw in the other ones. And this is the one that won by like over half of the votes. And yeah, as you can see, Rambo versus G.I. Joe. I was thinking about this and I was like, you know what? Maybe this could work as a fan fiction idea. I'm not 100% sure, but this would be pretty cool. So yeah, here we are. So Rambo versus G.I. Joe. Which, yeah, you think like, oh no, yeah, like a story where Rambo fights G.I. Joe? Count me in. So our story begins essentially with Rambo out in, I guess you could call this like nebulous between Last Blood and the 2008 movie, somewhere nebulous in that timeline, where Rambo has been causing a ruckus after his events in the 2008 movie where he killed a lot of people and disrupted an entire government. Yeah, it caused a bit of a problem. Because what happened is that Cobra is now moving into the area and taking over the political power. What Rambo did was basically cause a political vacuum, and Cobra marched in and took. And unfortunately, now they have control of that territory. There's nothing really G.I. Joe can do. But because of that, because of Rambo's actions, it's now become very clear to the government that, like, yeah, John Rambo's alive, and he just did that. He just did that and destabilized the entire area and just gave Cobra a major foothold. Not intentionally, they know it wasn't intentional, but now he's literally given Cobra a massive foothold in the entire area, and now shit's about to really hit the fan. So, so now that Cobra has a foothold in the area, what happens now is that G.I. Joe has been tasked with hunting down John Rambo for basically disrupting the entire area. And while a lot of the Joes are like, "Yes, sir, we'll do it, General Hawk," a lot of the Joes also feel like, "Yeah, it's John Rambo. He's a fucking hero. He was like, we considered him." Like, to be part of the Joes. Like, there was a time where we considered John Rambo to be a G.I. Joe, but it didn't happen because he was proven, like, psychologically, he was a little too messed up. Like, after everything that happened to him during the war and everything after, it was kind of determined that, yeah, he's a little too mentally banged up to be a Joe. So that was kind of the problem, was that they were very much afraid that he was going to crack under pressure. And that's how they're kind of seeing it now, is where they're like, yeah, he's pretty much like mentally unstable. The only someone with that kind of mental pressure would crack and do something like that. And yeah. So the Joes are sent in. Like it's now like the Joes have been brought to attention, and now under the command of Duke, they are now going to be going into Central Asia to go find and extract John Rambo by any means necessary. Now, they're not there to kill him. Keep that in mind. There's been no kill order. That was the only way to get the Joes like fully in line with all this, was that they weren't going to kill John. Like, that was the point. Like, it was to capture, arrest, not kill. So, yeah. So the Joes go in there, and at first it's just a regular group like Alpine, Recondo, Duke, Flint, Covergirl, and Scarlet. They're the first wave of Joes to go in there. And John is like, you guys were like, I always looked up to you guys, like, G.I. Joe fighting the war on Cobra, but where were you guys when we were fighting the war against the Russians and the Chinese? Like, he's like, you guys were out fighting a war against some guys, some snake people. I was fighting real wars. We're not the same, I got nothing against you, and, while you were stopping weather machines and giant robots, I was stopping nuclear wars from happening. So, who do you think's going to win this fight? And Duke basically replies with, I'll take my odds on it. I'll bet on us. And Rambo's like, okay. So Rambo escapes, and I would love to have it be some big city fight, city, they're looking for him throughout a small city. Definitely one of those river towns where the team is just trying to track him down and fight him among a city. But because they know the moment he gets into the jungle, he's going to have an advantage. He is definitely going to have the moment he gets into a city, he is going to have a massive advantage over the entire squad because they've seen what he can do and they know what he can do. So they're trying to keep him contained into the city. And however, while Rambo does give him a slip a few times, it's very clear that the Joes can match him beat for beat. Especially, I would love to have this scene with Duke and him having a throwdown in a building, kind of if you've seen, for reference, how this would probably be is that fight between The Rock and Vin Diesel in one of the Fast and Furious movies. That's the best way. I'm not a Fast and Furious guy, but it's kind of like that when they brought back Fast and Furious to break the next 7 movies, it was built on that whole fight between Rock and Vin Diesel. So I kind of imagine that's how it would be between a fight, or Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill in that Mission Impossible movie. That's how I kind of imagine a Rambo and Duke fight to go down, where it's brutal, but they're matching each other shot for shot, something like that. Rambo does get away, and he gets into the forest where Recondo and Alpine and a few of the other guys, Gung Ho and the others, they are capable of they are known for jungle travel. They are known for, traveling through dense forest. And they actually figure out a lot of Rambo's traps. They do put together, hey, he's going to do this, so we're going to counter with that. And then he's going to counter with this, we're going to counter with that. So they're very much playing cat and mouse. But the problem is that John seems to be, one step ahead of all of them. And by the end of it, they get sick of it. So they're like, okay, we're done playing nice with you, John. Get me Snake Eyes. So yeah, it comes. So the rest of this is more how I imagine this. If I can make this a real crossover, is that Snake Eyes is the last line to he's just the one who's just whipping out his sword, and he's just I'm gonna cut the shit out of you. Yeah. And when Snake Eyes arrives, then it's a whole new level. It's a whole new ball game because Rambo has never. And they're John has taken on some serious opponents, but he's never taken on someone like Snake Eyes before. So that would be the ultimate test: is John trying to outsmart and outfox Snake Eyes. And the whole time the Joes are dude, we know you're a hero. We know what you've done for this country, but you put us in a bind, and you basically fucked us. We can't go in there to dig Cobra out now. They have now entrenched themselves, and they've installed political leaders. We cannot go into that country. You fucked up because of you. We can't... Cobra now is a permanent base there. We can't... It'd be we have a better chance of digging a tick out of someone's ball sack at this point. So that's where they are. That's kind of the mindset of where they are. But Rambo continues to outfox the Joes, and he's not trying to kill the Joes because he also respects what they do, even though he's I fought worse than you. You guys were fighting weather machines and robots. I was doing real dirty shit. So they're more or less trying to just outfox one another and just outplay one another until eventually Rambo does escape and leave to Mexico, which again leads to Last Blood. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much my idea for a Rambo versus G.I. Joe crossover. It's kind of a pity we never could get a comic license for Rambo, because I would love to see IDW do only IDW could do something like this, of having Rambo take on G.I. Joe. That's how cool would that be, really? The ultimate 80s action movie versus the ultimate 80s cartoon. That's awesome. But you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of Rambo versus Rambo versus GI Joe. Words, how do I speak them? Yeah, so just comment below, let me know what you guys thought of this, and once again, if you thank you guys for voting on this on Patreon, and if you'd like to join Patreon and join some of these polls, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, just hit the first tier if you want to do polls and check out movie reviews. Yeah, but other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.